Alright, my friends. So, the NGDL2, which I've talked about in a few of my battles, has just concluded its draft. So it's about to get underway. And, yeah. And there were some requests that I make a, in general, video at the start of the, season. A power rankings video, specifically. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And try to explain, a bit of the changes. One of the major changes is that round one, you might recall in the first NGDL, which is a flat draft, and, different tiers had different values. That's still the same, but in round one of this season, we actually did, kind of a round, not a round robin, but a bidding round. A bidding round so people can actually bid on the premier Pokemon of the league. So you'll notice that looking at some of these team rosters that I'm about to show you. And, yeah. It's pretty interesting because it allowed pretty much everyone to get anything if they're willing to bid high enough for it, because the people that bid the most in the round one got to pick first in round two. So it was pretty darn interesting. A lot of bidding actually occurred. I was quite pleased about that. We have a slight cap increase, so a lot of interesting things going on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just go into the Miami Dolphiones, my team. As you guys might recall, we're going to take a look at the roster I drafted along with my pal and confidant, President Tim. By the way, I also want to say thank you to CFran or Code JNP or whatever he's being called these days for this logo. It's pretty cool. And also thank T-Dit for all these rosters you're going to see. He worked pretty long on them to get them all up. So I just wanted to say thank you before we get into anything else. Oh, and one other last change that I wanted to mention is the NGDL2 will have a waiver wire. So not all these teams you see right now are going to be the teams, as the season goes on. But it is carry a dead money penalty if you do pick up Pokemon. So the people are going to need to have reserve some dollars in order to do that effectively. So this is the Season 2 Miami Dolphiones. The first thing you're going to notice right off the bat is I went for an Uber in the bidding round. No one outbid me. And I decided to pick Mega Blaziken, and I do that because, I never really get to use Blaziken. It was banned before I really started playing Gen 5, so I always kind of wanted to use it. The Mega came out, and I didn't really play Ubers, so it's like, it definitely gives me sweeping potential. Maybe there's some better Ubers I could have chosen, but it's something I really wanted to use, and I'm hoping that it'll work out. In my second round pick, I decided to pick out Thundurus, who was an amazing sweeper. And also gives me a handful of useful abilities because I can use both forms. Another thing about the Mega Blaziken, of course, is I can use regular Blaziken with a Z move. So that's pretty cool. We added Uxie pretty much for a support role. And then the only returning member from the NGDL1, we have Goodra at a reduced cost this season because it did lower in tier since the first one. We then wanted to get a bulky water in Araquanid, which is a Pokemon I'm really happy to get because obviously it has access to useful abilities such as Sticky Web. Spiritomb is a Pokemon that I picked up because it has no weaknesses. It's a pretty good PU. I wanted to start picking PUs earlier in this draft because by the time in the last draft, a lot of the good PUs were gone by the end. We also picked up Ninetales, which of course has Drought. Due to the rules, I can use Drought despite the fact that it's a PU price, so that's pretty nice. Donphan is a good all-around Pokemon. We wanted to pick up another Pokemon that had Stealth Rock access. We also wanted a ground type, so that gave us, kind of checked off 2 boxes. We have Sawsbuck. What I really wanted was Leafeon, but I got sniped in the freaking a few picks before mine. So that sucks. And then we have, but Sawsbuck is actually pretty good too. It's a nice Pokemon. It can be a Cleric if it needs to be. It's a physical grass type, and it also has Chlorophyll, so might also be able to use some stuff there with Ninetales. Which of course the Sun is going to help Mega Blaziken perhaps as well. And finally, we ended our draft with Articuno, which is actually a really diverse Pokemon in PU. Obviously, it has that X4 Stealth Rock weakness that we're going to have to mitigate if we decide to use Articuno, but I think it definitely has some upside, and that's why we chose it. So, there's the Miami Dolphiones. Now, as for the power rankings, we're going to go through each team of the division. In fact, let's just go ahead and start with my division, the Blue Division. And I'm not going to rank my team. I'd be a little, I honestly think my team is the best in the division. I said it, but we're not going to rank that. So I'm going to rank the Blue Division from, 4 to 1, excluding myself. And we'll take a look at every other division as well. And I'll give you my thoughts about who's the best team in each division. Now, also keep in mind, I am going to be ranking these last 2 first. So the team I show you first is going to be the team that I think is worst in the division. Mind you, all of these teams are good. Everyone did a great job drafting, and I don't want it. This is part of the reason I didn't want to make this. because now all the people that are going to be in last, they're going to put a chip on their shoulder to come after the Miami DOLPHIONES. But whatever. Somebody has to do it, or apparently, or someone, everyone wants me to do it. So there we go. That's what we're going to do. So yeah, here's the team I think is probably the weakest team in the Blue Division. And that's probably going to have to be the Magnus Opus, who is drafted by Mr. Mags, a pretty good battler. Now, the one thing I noticed immediately, and I'm not going to go through every Pokemon on every team, but the one thing I did notice right off the bat is he goes ahead and drafts Tapu Lele, and he did bid very highly for it. He bid it up $11 from its original bid. He took it for $46. Now, Tapu Lele is a great Pokemon, but then you take a look at the rest of his team, and I just don't see how he can really make use of the Psychic Terrain as much. You expect when you draft Tapu Lele maybe to try to, abuse that Psychic Terrain, but none of his Pokemon really make much use out of it. Now, obviously, I do like the Como-O pick. I thought Como-O was a great pick for $20. He's going to have that, Rainbow Boost Z move that he can use to just harass opponents. I do like the Pelipper pick, but once again, with the Pelipper pick, he drafted a Rain Pokemon, and then he doesn't really add to it. Like, there's no synergy amongst this team, and that's what I worry about this team. Now, this team it has a lot of power to it. It's a little bit, maybe a little bit underpowered because of the amount of money they paid on Tapu Lele, but there's definitely take a look at X-Plow. That's a heavy hitter. Was one of the key Pokemon Use's team last season. But yeah, there's a lot of good mons here. I just don't see the synergy like I see with a lot of the other teams. So that's why I'm going to have it, unfortunately, last in the Blue Division. Now, I hate to disrespect, but I think the third best team, not counting the Miami DOLPHIONES, so the second worst team in the Blue Division happens to be the Silverback Mamoswines. Now, this is a team drafted by Fat Jesus, and he was the champion of the first NGDL. But the thing about the Blue Division is that you'll probably notice, as you see the other two teams in it, is that this is the team of Ubers. And I drafted an Uber, and the two other teams in the division drafted an Uber as well. And there's a lot of power in the Blue Division. In fact, that's pretty much what defines the Blue Division right now, as you're going to see later. As for Fat Jesus, he kind of overpaid for Clefable, in my opinion. Clefable is a good Pokemon. I don't know if it's worth $35, and he paid $38 for it because someone had to, someone bid on it, and then he beat the bid with his last bid. So it has a lot of invested money there in Clefable. He drafted a lot of Pokemon that are good, and obviously he has a lot of good picks here, including the Leafeon. Freaking Leafeon. I wanted that Leafeon so badly, guys. You have no idea I wanted that Leafeon. But he still has a lot of threats. He still has the Mega Beedrill. A lot of these Pokemon, though, are very much glass cannons. Notice about the Lycanroc is he can't use the Dusk form. He's locked into either... Sorry, he can't use... Wait, which one is that? He can't use the new form, Dusk, because he drafted it at PU. He can use Midnight and Midday, and that's what he drafted it as. But, so there's just a lot of glass cannons here. He did get some good value here with Porygon 2, one of the best Eviolite users for $10. When I look at this team, it's a good team. It has a good amount of sweepers and bulky Pokemon. And it could do some serious damage. Like every team in the NGDL, let me just stress that. Every team in the NGDL has power to it. Every team, I can see every team winning the big game, winning the chip. Certainly Fat Jesus has the experience as a battler that I think he can make up for it, but I don't think it's the strongest draft in the league. So here's the second best team in the Blue Division, aside obviously from the Dolphiones, which I'm not going to rank. You guys can be the judge of that. But no, this is the Vancouver Canucks, and it's drafted by Cfran, or whatever he's calling himself these days. Mega Lucario, ultra powerful Mega Evolution, adaptability. It does a ton of damage, arguably probably better than Mega Blaziken, but I really want to use Mega Blaziken. But one of his favorite Pokemon, he's going to know how to use it. He has a lot of other great picks here. He has the Bulky Water in Melodic, a real bargain for $10. He has Chandelure, which can act as a sweeper. A lot of really powerful Pokemon in this. He has two pretty good Eviolite users, as you can see in Electabuzz and Jinx. He has that Fairy and Wigglytuff, who's oh so tough. And, it's just a overall powerful team. Really afraid of the Mega Lucario. I think that it's what's going to put this team in a good position in the NGDL2. And here it is. Here is, in my opinion, the best team in the Blue Division, aside from my own. The one that I personally have... I'm afraid of this team. This team, I could see beating me out for the division. Now, there's 2 wildcard slots. But this is the team I consider the team to beat, other than mine. And the Necrozma pick was great. It was in round 2. He did not get a single Pokemon in the bidding stage, if I recall correctly. But let me just say this: the guy who drafted this Pokemon, Saltfire, he's a really cool guy. He's the guy that helped me set up custom firmware on my machine. It was a great pick because, according to the NGDL rules, you draft a Pokemon. So by drafting this Necrozma, now mind you, Ultra Necrozma is banned. He can't actually use Ultra Necrozma, but he has access to whatever the form is. I can't remember these forms' names. Duskmane and Dawnmane, whatever it's called. He has those two new Necrozmas. He can even use base Necrozma, although why would you have to? But he can switch those up pretty much to his leisure. Obviously, the one pictured is probably the one he's going to be using most of the time because it's the one that's really good in Ubers right now. And, the rest of his team, he did really well drafting. I like Vaporeon for $5, a Pokemon I was considering myself. On his last pick, Torterra was great. He has a great mixture here. Staraptor is just a really, really strong hitting Pokemon. He has some great utility. I'm not a huge fan of the Ribombee pick for $10, but that's kind of just, that's just kind of nitpicking. Alright, so that's the blue division. I'm going to go ahead and get into the red division, which is the other division in our conference. The NGDL2 has 20 teams in it, and it's split into 2 divisions per conference. The division winners will advance to the playoffs, as well as 2 wild cards per conference. So, if I don't end up winning that blue division, which, as you saw, super hard hitting, we're going to have to compete for a wild card spot with the people in the red division, which I'm going to reveal now. And, let's go ahead and start with what I believe to be, and I keep saying this, but let me just say, all of these teams are good. What team I consider to maybe have the hardest time competing for that red division title. I'm going to have to put as number 5 the Albertan ALTARIAS, and this is Berserker's team. Now, right off the bat, you notice that he has a lot of Pokemon that are priced higher than their tier. Well, actually, he has 2. He kind of went berserk. He only has 2, actually. He went berserk in the bidding phase. So, he has that Mega Latios for $30, and he actually bid up Magearna to $50, which is only $15 less than an Uber. Now, mind you, Magearna is excellent, and is probably one of the best OUs in this format. But $50 is going to hurt him down the line, especially since he's also overpaying for Mega Latios. I believe he was the one that nominated for the bidding round, but he still had to pay a little bit more for it because someone bid it up. And then he took Tapu Bulu from me, which I was super mad. This guy actually freaking... He sniped me a lot. I was interested in Xatu. I was interested in Tapu Bulu. So maybe I'm just being salty. No, Tapu Bulu was my pick, but I had to settle for Thundurus. Not that I'm really upset with Thundurus, because Thundurus was, really high on my board, but I really wanted to pair Tapu Bulu with Mega Charizard. And this guy, like, the turn before mine, or maybe it was a couple picks before mine, takes Tapu Bulu because he spent more money. He spent $80, obviously, in the bidding phase. I only spent $65. So, allowed him to do some things. But aside from Magearna, you take a look at this team. Magearna and Tapu Bulu is going to have to, carry the team. Now, he did draft Dustbuster for me, too, in the freaking 5th round. I was actually going to draft Dustbuster in the NGDL2, just to kind of sit on my bench in my last pick. But obviously, he was able to snipe it from me. Not even snipe it. I wasn't even considering it until the 10th round. I don't really think it was a great pick either, because let's face it, as cute as Dustbuster is, it isn't very useful. It's going to be use impaired, and he really could have picked some more powerful PU to help him along. Alright, so 4th in the red division, I have the NIÑOS PEQUENOS. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Really bad at pronunciation of things. Anyway, so this is Sauce Ace's team. He actually does have a really nice core, and it's why I'm going to say this the whole video, but I'm going to hate placing anybody, like, last. Because this team has, some nice core, and it has Toxapex, a great defensive mon. Obviously, he's going to do a great job at just walling certain things. The only thing with defensive mons in a league setting is people know it's going to be coming, so they're going to have to prepare for Toxapex. Tornadus, though, is pretty darn good. It has a Regenerator, so it can do some nice damage. Not as great as my Thundurus pick, but that's fine. He has, a few other good Pokemon. I really like Galvantula, and because obviously that gives him the Sticky Web advantage as well, so, it's a pretty hard-hitting bug. And, Celebi is kind of nice, although it has a ton of weaknesses, which makes me question how useful it's going to be in this setting. But he has a lot of good Pokemon. But I do feel kind of underwhelmed. I feel like his team is kind of on the slow side. Aside from Thundurus and Galvantula, things are going to have to be Scarf to really outspeed a lot of things. So that's, but he does have the Sticky Web, so there is some synergy there. I could see this team doing very well. But we'll see how the rest of the red division looks right now. Third in the red division, I have Quilliams 23 and his St. Louis Fletchinders. Quilliams 23 finished out the season last season in the NGDL 1, I believe, and ended up finishing with a really bad team, but he ended up finishing with it on a winning streak, so obviously a very capable battler, a guy I really do enjoy having battles with. He has a very solid team. I do like the Miltank pick for $1. Gives him a very solid Pokemon that can fill a variety of roles. He has that Mega Blastoise, which is another Pokemon that got sniped from me. I wanted that in the third round. I was actually looking for the dual Megas because I wanted a Pokemon that would, I could use either Mega because then I could get because I wanted two Megas that were but the base form is worth it based on that tier. So it's I wanted Blaziken and Blastoise. Anyway, I'm gonna go into this, but he sniped that from me. But it's a very good bulky water and a very worthwhile Mega. He has the Zygarde, which is going to be excellent for him, and Victini as well. I'm not sure if Victini is worth $35 in this league. I mean, obviously that's its cost. I'm not sure if it's worth it. I love the Primate pick. I thought it's probably the best fighting type in PU. Really, it shouldn't even be PU. But it's very good. This is a lot of solid Pokemon here. It's really hard to hate this pick. He has sweeping potential, obviously, with the speed boost, with his Scolipede, and just a lot of really good Mons here. So it's going to be a powerful team, but the other teams in the red division have even more going for them, in my opinion. Second in the red division, I have the PC Quilava Azulgranas. Sure, why not? And this is Yusa's team. This is a really powerful team. He picked a Mega, one of the only, I think, legal Mega that has two forms, and he can use both. So he can set up the Drought if he wants to against certain teams. And he can also go for the Charizard X, which obviously is one of the best Dragon Dancers in the entire game. So he can leave opponents guessing and really use that to his advantage. Other than that, he has a lot of really good mid-tier Mons that are also very bulky that he can set up Calm Mind with. He has the Suicune, an excellent bulky water for $20. Cresselia is a Pokemon I was looking at. Didn't decide to go in that direction, but I really do like it for $10. It gives him a very strong, specially defensive core, especially when you add a Alolan Muck. And obviously, how can you forget about Exadrill? So he has sweeping potential. He has bulk. He has just a lot of really, really strong things. I love Avalog for $1. It's a pretty solid Mon. Vanpy, why not for $1? I don't even know. But yeah, let's go into what I consider the best team in the red division. And that's the Toronto Razor Leafs by Toronto Pure. Go Leafs go, or whatever. Still should be called Leaves, but whatever. No, he has a very strong team. He has that Mega Lopunny, which is a Pokemon that freaking always gets to me. And he has also somehow got the last Tapu in the last round. Tapu Fini actually wasn't picked up the entire time, but he was saving enough money to pick up the OU in the last round, kind of seeing what the rest of his division mates picked. And Tapu Fini is a pretty darn excellent mon to get at the end. He has, this is a guy who likes bulk on his teams. He likes stall. And he definitely got what he wanted there with Blissey. He has a very good defensive core, Blissey, Gliscor. And obviously Espeon was a great pickup as far as utility goes because of Magic Bounce. And he also got the Sticky Web there with Lievany, second to last pick. And there's just a lot of really good utility here. And I think he made the most out of his money pool. So there you go. Moving on out of the Kanto Conference, the conference of the Red and Blue divisions, we're going to take a look at the Sevi Conference here. And the first of those divisions are the Green Division. And let's go ahead and get into it. I feel like I've been talking forever already, so you guys must be getting bored. I'm sure most of the people that are watching this far are just participants. Anyway, I'm rambling again. They just want to see so they can complain about where I put them, I swear. So fifth, in the Green Division, I'm going to have to put the ALMELO ALOMOMOLA. This is a guy who also kind of spent big in the initial round, and he was able to land Heatran for $43, and then paying more than an OU price for a Raikou, who was, I believe, only a UU, so he was the one who nominated Raikou. Obviously, he really wanted it. But other people bid on it. In fact, someone had bid up a $35 price tag on it, and he beat it. But that's still a huge investment on those two Pokemon. Now, Heatran and Raikou are good Pokemon, but he basically overspent by, what is it? I guess almost $20. More than $20. No. But yeah, almost $25. So anytime you're going to overspend on tiers like that, it's going to actually hurt the rest of your draft in this setting. So aside from those two Pokemon, he was forced to settle for pretty much UUs and below. Now he did have some good picks despite that. He has Kingdra for $7. I really do like that pick. Not a huge fan of investing $20 in Crocodile after you overspent on Raikou and Heatran, but he has a lot. He made some very good low tier decisions. But I just think that overall the team is suffering from the amount of cap investment he had on those two Pokemon. So fourth I have Joey Fontaine's the awesome cute Arcanines. I don't really know what's with that name, but okay. And he's another guy who, in my opinion, well, just like Ominous Acid and his Alomomola. I hate that Pokemon's name, by the way. He spent big in the initial round, grabbing Greninja from Skep, who nominated it for $45. He also upped his own Pokemon, another UU, to $36, Arcanine. So you saw two of these UU Pokemon being bought for over the price of an OU, which also limited his draft. He was able to pick up Tangrowth to help his defensive core, but then, once again, he had to settle for low-tiered mons like the last team we looked at. I do like the Aurorus and the Sandslash connection, because that's going to give him, obviously, a good option there with Slush Rush. He picked a very good PU in Claydol, one that I was considering myself, and the Electros. So I thought that he did well despite that fact in this draft, and unfortunately, it was I think that investment was a little too great on those two Pokemon. In the middle of the pack in the Green Division, I have the EDGEMASTERS, drafted by Ivan, and once again, another guy who kind of spent big in the initial round. He picked up Zapdos. You bid on Zapdos for $40, so that's a little bit more than you would normally invest in. Then he picked Kyogre, so that's a very good pick. Obviously, it's one of those Ubers that are just definitely worth it, and we knew we were going to see go. But once again, he didn't really. And I feel like this is another thing. He did another team that maybe didn't combine it with synergy as well as he probably should have. He did pick the Ludicolo, which thrives in the rain, but not a whole lot aside from that. However, he did draft very well. I do like all of these picks individually. Golbat was a nice pickup. Shaman, I thought, was really great for $10. Even his PU picks, all pretty darn good and solid and all that. I'm not a fan of the two normals. I thought he could settle for one or the other, but actually, I think he can use either Persian form, so that's probably what he was thinking. But no, the Virizion pick was great too. I like that pick. But unfortunately, I don't think he has enough synergy on this team compared to some of the other teams. So, second in the Green Division, I have Skepgandy's DC Sceptiles. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say, I'm rating these teams by, I think, their draft, their potential. Skepgandy is a guy who has a lot to prove. He did not do very hot in the first NGDL. So we'll see if he can lead his team to greatness, but it obviously has some serious potential. The Kyurem pick gives him a very, very powerful Pokemon for $35 in, obviously, this tier. Marshadow, man. Marshadow is sweeping Uber's teams, man. This thing is ridiculously scary because he can steal sweeps with it. It is a pretty darn excellent Mon, and it's going to have to carry his team, obviously, because it is a team with an Uber. But I think that the rest of his team is very, very solid and can do some serious work. And who's first in the Green Division? I have the San Diego Chargabugs, led by Zack Attack. You might recall he was a division rival last season, not this time. And I'm kind of glad to be out of this division. I love this team. I love what Zack Attack did with this team. First of all, in the bidding round, got that Rotom for $41. That allows him to use every Rotom form, because obviously he drafted it an OU price tag. Definitely worth the overbid there. Definitely worth the $6 extra because of the utility it gives him. One of the best Pokemon in this draft league due to the rules set. And he just augmented it with some serious powerhouses. You got Metagross there for $20. You have Infernape, which, obviously he's a strong priority user and a very powerful mix sweeper in his own right. Added to that, he has Hydreigon, a very good cleric. He has Lantern, which is a great Pokemon for $1. And of course, Roserade for $10 is huge as well. So this is a fantastic roster, and we'll see if the San Diego Chargabugs can win the Green Division, as I am, trying to say they probably should. But yeah. Alright, my friends, we're almost done. But don't worry, I've left probably, in my opinion, the best division for last. The Yellow Division is a powerhouse. Now, the divisions were, not technically random. What I ended up doing is, I basically encrypted the comments they did to sign up for this league, and that determined the original draft order as well as the divisions. And encryption of the encryption determined the divisions. But this division is actually really powerful. It has some really top-notch players, and including the runner-up from last season, as well as other playoff finalists. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I think you will be pleased. Alright, so on the bottom here, I have Ghostmer's East End GOGOATS. And this isn't a bad team by any means. It's just, he kind of didn't get anything in the bidding phase, and he was actually kind of primed to take an Uber, but he was unsure about one of the rules. He tried to take Mega Mewtwo, which is a band, so he settled for Mega Alakazam in the 5th round. Now, this is, like I said, not a bad team by any means. It's actually very well balanced. I'm not a huge fan of Mimikyu for $35, but the rest of the team is solid. But you're going to go ahead and see here in a minute. This is not a knock on the East End GOGOATS at all. This division is a powerhouse. So while he does have pretty much all of these Pokemon, I think are pretty good picks. But he's going to have a hard time, in my opinion. Plus, I don't really know much about Ghostmer. He's a friend of actually Untraceable Strain, who's also in this division. So I don't know how good of a battler he is, to be honest. And yeah, he actually did snipe one Pokemon for me, Grand Ball, the Pokemon I really wanted. And that kind of stinks. I mean, I guess he wasn't really a snipe. I wasn't considering it until later, but still kind of wanted Grand Ball. But yeah, let's go ahead into the next team. Okay, so guys, I want you to know that I was just sitting here for like 10 minutes trying to think which team to put 4th. Alright? Because that's how close these remaining teams are. They are really, really, really close. And I ultimately decided on Orlando Till's team, the Orlando Octillery. Great name, by the way. He has a very versatile Pokemon with his first pick in Landorus. He has Ferrothorn, a great augment to that. He has Slowbro, a Pokemon I picked up last season. I think it wasn't quite as useful as I was hoping for, but still a very good Pokemon. He has a great Mega and Mega Manectric. He has freaking Honchkrow, which she sniped from me, by the way. I feel like everything. Every Pokemon in every team was just sniped. It was just brutal. But no, obviously, just fantastic team, honestly. No real weaknesses. But, yeah, you're going to go ahead and see these next 3 teams. They are pretty darn close. Third, I'm going to put at the Detroit Red Wing Attacks, led by Untraceable Strain, an excellent battler, division rival, won my division last tournament, you might remember. He won the gold division, he swept me. I'm still kind of salty about it. I did get higher in the playoffs than him, though, so there's something. But no, this team is pretty darn excellent. You have Mega Venusaur, a really hard Pokemon to be able to counter in a league setting. And you augment that with Celesteela. This defensive core is insane. Mega Venusaur and Celesteela together are just going to be so unstoppable. It's going to be really intense to fight. I mean, Mamoswine is another great pick for $20. I'm not really a fan of a Selgor, Drampa, or what is that other thing, Tortinator? But I'm sure he's going to find someone to make it work. I mean, the Selgor does have a pretty darn good, it's fast, so it can do things, right? I mean, Archeops. There's not a whole lot of Pokemon I was considering on this team, which is probably ranking at 3rd instead of higher. But he doesn't really have a lot of power here, especially that defensive core, which I think is going to be really, really hard for teams to get by. Second place with the runner-up from last tournament, Sharpedo 43. This guy, his accolades, kind of speak for himself. He's a really cool guy. He's a really great battler. And he once again built another fantastic team. Obviously, starting with his Mega Sharpedo, which he was one of the Pokemon, the guys. I believe he nominated Zapdos. He didn't get anything in the bidding round. His first pick was that, of course, signature Mega Sharpedo, and he even got his namesake Pokemon this time, Sylveon. So, yeah, I mean, Mega Sharpedo is always a pain to deal with, at least for me. It's just a huge sweeping potential. That's all I have to say about it. Dragonite, fantastic pickup for $25. And his last pick, Volcanion, was a really solid pick, too. I think it's going to help him in this division. He got Cradily, which is a Pokemon I kind of wanted for $1. I really do like his... he only took 2 PUs. There's another guy who went for the balance. No real hard-hitting Pokemon. He doesn't have a single OU. In fact, this is all under OU. Just let that soak in. He actually does have some cap room. He has $16 worth of cap room going into the season. So he has plenty of cap room to actually adjust his team as he sees fit, to maybe drop a Pokemon, get another Pokemon that can help him with the matchup. That's one of the reasons I really like this team. And I think despite the fact that he doesn't have any higher tiered Pokemon, you wouldn't know it looking at the power on this roster. So he did a really good job of building a well-balanced team in the lower tiers, and I'm impressed. I think it's going to do real well. With his remaining money, he can even, if he wants to, drop one of his UU or lower Pokemon, and he has a UU or higher Pokemon, and actually grab an OU if he really wanted to, because he has those $16 in cap space, which means you would have the one dead money, and then dollar worth of dead money, and then the $15 price jump. So he can actually augment this roster as the season goes on in a game. In key matchups, he can grab Pokemon that are in the free agency pool that will help him in that current matchup, and I think that's going to give him a huge edge. And here we go. Here's the #1 team in the Yellow Division. As much as I hate to admit it, and probably the best drafted team in the league. I'm going to put an asterisk there. But I think it's probably #1 if I was to do overall power rankings. And that's going to be the Jacksonville Fulhamites, drafted by Fulham. Or Fulham is the best, or whatever. That's his name. So I'm not actually saying whatever. This is a really well-drafted team. This is a fantastic team. Part of the reason I like it is because it actually kind of mimics, two of my Pokemon from last NGDL. He got Porygon Z, which was kind of like my ace in the hole for most of my games. If you go back or watched my original NGDL videos, Porygon Z was always, kind of my crucial Pokemon. It's always kind of like, because obviously the Rainbow Boost. Rainbow Boost is banned in a lot of leagues. It's not banned in this league, so that makes that a freaking excellent pick. He did pay a little more for Tapu Koko, but Tapu Koko is one of those Pokemon that are probably worth that cost. He has Ditto for $1, and I think I said this before. I think Ditto is in leagues, and especially a league setting like this one with only 10 Pokemon. Ditto being able to, just is an excellent revenge killer. You can stick it in any team, obviously with the same freaking set, and it'll really prevent what your opponents can do, and provides you a really, really excellent revenge killer for $1. In fact, the next NGDL, I'm probably going to raise its base cost, but for this one, it's fair game. Scizor, obviously, great. Not quite as useful as I thought it would be in the first NGDL, but it's still a great Pokemon for $20. He has Yen Mega, which is a super scary Pokemon because you can either go with the full power set using, his Tinted Lens ability, but he can also go for a Speed Boost set, which will allow him to, obviously, get Speed Boost sweeps in against, depending on his, opponent's team. He brought back Torkoal, a very good Pokemon with Drought for $1. It kind of forced my hand trying to pick Ninetales, so that's a pretty good pick. And Frogadier is for $1 is actually kind of a steal. Frogadier obviously is kind of like mini Greninja, but Greninja went for like $40-something, and he's getting Frogadier for $1, so that's pretty good. I love Umbreon here as a as a bulky wall / cleric / utility Pokemon. I think he made a slight mistake taking Passimian over Primeape, but it can be a good Pokemon. I mean, it does have a nice base attack stat. I really would have taken Primeape, though, because Primeape's a little faster and has Defiant. So there's that. But, yeah, it's just a freaking awesome little team he's got here. So there we go. There's every division ranked. I'm going to go now because my throat is super scratchy, but I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'm not entirely sure how many views it's going to get. I'm going to guess most of the people that watch this are probably going to be NGDL coaches. But if you're not, thank you for watching this entire thing. And I hope that you'll be hyped because the NGDL2 starts next week, which means my first opponent, I believe I'm going to be playing Skip Candy's DC SCEPTILES. Look forward to that. Hopefully, his Marshadow won't provide so much trouble for my Mega Blaziken. And, yeah, go freaking DOLPHIONES! Let's do this shit. Oh, God, I just cursed. Sorry.